We're going to move on to the next speaker, which I think is me. Here, can we get a shot of me? There we are. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to cue you when I want the sound. I don't need it yet, but basically. Okay, it's good. Okay, it's there. And so you're gonna. All right, not yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I want to explain to you exactly what I'm doing and how I came up with the idea. It's kind of a wild one, so you need to stick with me. First of all, here is a picture of me, Sylvia, and John Quijada. And each of these people had a factor in helping me to come up with what I'm doing next. So Kopikon, we came up with the idea. It's based on the coffee candy, but I kind of had this idea to give it this theme. And the theme was based on Woodstock. So Woodstock was this amazing music conference, which was totally wild, where they invited like all the hottest bands in the entire world to the middle of nowhere in New York and just said, we're going to play all night. And that, of course, was my idea for this one. I said, we're going to have a bunch of speakers and they're going to perform as long as they want. And then Jesse wrote up a schedule and said, and I said, because I don't want to start before noon. And Jesse said, okay, we can do this and do all this. And if we cut time here, we can end at midnight. So that was when I changed plans. But anyway, I really loved this idea, this theme of Woodstock and the aesthetics of it and the ideas behind it. And I wanted to bring it to conlanging. So then segue, this is me holding my little sister. I only have one sibling and she's 20 years younger than I am. She was born in between my sophomore and junior year of college. And so one of the things that I did was when she was born, and then for every single one of her birthdays up to like 18, I wrote and illustrated for her a children's book. One for every single year. These were three of them. Crazy Coyote and the Onion is one of my favorites. One of the books that I wrote for her was called The Missing Spungo. This was partially inspired by an animation I did in 7th grade. This is a story about jelly beans, jelly beans that can talk. And then there's a moral in it. It somehow references, not Dante, Milton. Anyway, but jelly beans are something that I find really interesting, in particular, jelly bellies. Jelly bellies are from California, and unlike regular jelly beans, they have very unique and specific flavors, like really, really wild flavors. So it's like coconut, cotton candy, French vanilla, Dr. Pepper. And you taste them and it's like, dang, these really, really taste like those. They kind of came back into being, and people really heard about them around the time of Harry Potter, because they famously released a line of these beans that were like these candies in the books where you couldn't tell what they tasted like. And some of them tasted like really bad things. So you have earthworm, earwax or something. So one of the original ways, though, that Jelly Bellies became famous was Ronald Reagan, of all things, also from California. And in order to try to kick smoking, he got kind of hooked on Jelly Bellies specifically. They actually made a picture out of Jelly Bellies for him, and he had them throughout his presidency. Ronald Reagan and I also share a very strange connection, aside from the fact that we're both from California. You'll notice here, if you look very closely, this is my Wikipedia page. This is Ronald Reagan. I want you to notice when he took office. And as my mother told me, because I was born at 12:27 a.m., she said, the nurses brought her to me. And then there was Ronald Reagan taking the oath of office and then flying over or going over to greet the hostages that came back from Iran. And so I don't necessarily like him, but but we share the same love of jelly beans. And so I had this idea that was also inspired by Woodstock. And by the way, on the first day of Woodstock, what happened? The skies opened up and Ravi Shankar played in the rain. And it was kind of unexpected. But then on the next day, there's a fellow named Wavy Gravy. And okay, so go ahead and bring me up on 9 and 10, if you would, over on the audio, pretty please. Can you bring up my computer? All right, I'm going to play something for you. Hello? There we go. Yeah. All right. So Jelly Bellies. We're making a language out of Jelly Bellies. We're going to use the grammar. We don't want to put bizarre constraints on eating, which is like, oh, you can only eat this one and then not this one. And it's like, no. You don't want to do anything like that. And it should be discernible by all. In other words, you don't have to be a super taster in order for this thing to work. So for Jelly Bellies, the candy, they've got all of these flavors. There are 34 official flavors, 12 jewel flavors, 20 kids mix flavors, and blah, 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 blah. Overall, there are 225 unique Jelly Belly flavors. As you know, a minimal language needs somewhere between 100 and 400 lexemes. So I figured that this can work. These are some of the constraints that I put on myself. First of all, we're going to eliminate similar flavors. So in other words, you shouldn't be having to distinguish lemon drop from sun-kissed lemon or pina colada from crushed pineapple, sour apple from jewel sour apple. That's too complicated. So we're going to eliminate similar flavors. We're going to eliminate the gross flavors, none of the ones that they did for Harry Potter. Those are gone. And eliminate, and by the way, I put buttered popcorn on there. Oh, insufferable. We're also going to eliminate the flavors that are not for everyone. So like not Carolina Reaper or gin and tonic or black licorice. We're also going to eliminate the esoteric flavors, not because they're necessarily bad, but because you might not necessarily be able to place them. I'm sure the lychee one tastes very nice, but I'm not familiar enough with lychee to really be able to pick out a jelly bean. There are some confounding factors. Each Jelly Belly has a unique color. And so if you're a sighted individual, you can easily tell the difference between the colors like you're supposed to. It's hard to pick out a specific flavor without comparing it to something else, right? So like sometimes it's like, okay, I don't know if this is necessarily orange unless I compare it to something else and know that it's that, all right? So there's that confounding factor. Also, it's okay, and I Googled this. I tried my best to do research. I have no idea how to even ask the question to get the right answer. I don't know how many flavors a human being can distinguish at once in their mouth. And it's like every time I asked this, the results I was getting was like, how many flavors can humans distinguish? And it's like, well, there's sour, salty. It's like, no, that's not what I mean. And it's like, well, there are this many taste buds on the tongue. No, that's not what I mean. It's like, well, this part of the tongue tastes this. No, I want to know how many at once. I know and so I honestly don't have any idea. So this was my prognosis. Essentially, we've got enough for a test. There's not enough for a full language. And we need to pretend to ignore the colors. All right. So everybody's got to be on their best behavior. And I'm absolutely clueless on the simultaneous taste issue. So that's why this is an experiment. This is a small test. So now, in terms of how to do this, I went back to a language that I created or tried to create in 2002. Very few people know about this. I tried to share it on the Conlang list, but it was like, it really went nowhere. It was this language that was called Hokkei. Anyway, so yeah, it's from around 2002. It was 100% inspired by Sylvia Sotomayor, and also John Quixote. And by the way, John, you're probably the only one who's going to get this language experiment J, meal R, remember? Yeah, from the book. Okay, so anyway, this thing had operators and non-operators. Operators define relationships between non-operators. It's very similar to Kalen. And non-operators had two forms, but to this day, I don't understand why. Like, I recreated some sentences here. I'm not going to try to pronounce these. This is just a disaster. I was trying to create a truly alien language, because most aliens that we see, they're just humans with like forehead ridges, right? And the languages are basically humanoid. I was trying to create something truly alien. So we have this example: the fish hugs the frog hugs the fish does a froggish job of hugging the frog, gives a fishy hug, because like these things were like, all the verbs were nouns too. And so I try to feel like, well, what does it mean if like I don't know, the hugging sees the hearing? What does that mean? I don't know. Anyway, so this is the language Hokkei. I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I gave it up, but I never forgot it. In fact, when I was digging through, as I was preparing for Sylvia's presentation, she has a Fiat Lingua article on Sodna Lenny. If you go down, she has an appendix. In the appendix, there are some email messages that we sent back and forth. In my reply, I don't know if you even realize this, Sylvia, I have actions then are something that can be grouped. That is, actions are more similar to each other than they are to animals, let's say, and so could easily be classified as a noun class. I was doing something along these lines the first time I tried to create an alien language. Never finished, it was too difficult. This was sent in 2012. That was 10 years later. I've been thinking about it the whole time. Now I found an avenue for it. All right, so working with jelly beans. So number one, there's no affixes. It's not possible unless flavor mixing was possible. That is like you'd have to have it in a single bean in order for it to count as an affix. And ordering is either impossible or pointless. So in other words, like if you can say, well, okay, you have to eat this one first and then this one and this one, then it's like, why? You basically defeated the purpose. And there's no real coloring solution unless unless you can make the beans yourself, you can't do it properly. All right. So this is how the language works. There's an operator class. There are non-operator classes based on semantics. All classes are defined by flavor regions. And when we get to the end of the talk, you'll see why maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Anyway, so non-operator classes are things like this. The class number one are the pronouns. So red apple is I, orange crush is we, peach is you, one person, top banana is you, plural people. And then class two is the beverages. These are actions. So you have root beer is seeing, 7-Up is hearing, cappuccino is hugging, Dr. Pepper is sleeping, cream soda is talking or discussion. Then we have the small mammals. So the blueberry, so we have the mouse, the rabbit, the dog, the daiquiri, the opossum, and the cat there. And then the other classes would be things like this, other animals, plants, minerals, created objects, etc. Now, here's how things have to work and why it might be a little difficult for humans to use. There must be an absolute, necessarily arbitrary hierarchy for all non-operator classes. So, for example, with the small mammals, you have to put them in order. So obviously, cat is number one. Mouse is 2, rabbit is 5, dog is somewhere at 27, and then the poor opossum down at number 981. So, all right. Now, these are how the operators work, and this part is kind of crucial. All right. Operators work with or on non-operators. They determine grammatical roles. They determine the number of participants. They give aspectual information and set clause boundaries. This last one is really important. These are the four most important jelly beans you will ever see. All right. So first, perfective, imperfective, we can just call that past, non-past, or whatever. So we know how those work. A complete thought means that the jelly beans in your hand say the whole story. An incomplete thought means Eat these jelly beans. More are coming to help fill in the gaps. We're not done yet. Okay. And so then that obviously it separates into 4 jelly beans. So it's like a toasted marshmallow is like, this is a complete thought and it's in the past or it's completed or something like that. For this one, by the way, we're not going to do a long text. So we're only dealing with complete thoughts, toasted marshmallow versus French vanilla. They're surprisingly close in flavor. I'm sorry. Okay. So, next, this is how kind of these things work. The other operators, those are the first type, and there's only 4 of them. The others, there's going to be lots of them. And what they do is they tell you that there's 1 argument, there's 2 arguments, there's 3 arguments, and then the arguments tell you who does what to whom and via what. All right. So like, 2 arguments would be like the first operates on the last or the last operates on the first. Remember, we're talking about the hierarchy of non-operator classes. And then for 3 arguments, the first operates on the middle via the last, things kind of like that. These are operators type B. Anyway, so for this, for our experiment, we're probably going to top out at around 3 arguments before you say incomplete thought, more is coming, right? So you have to like speak in kind of a different way. You can't say a whole bunch of complex stuff in one clause. You just have to keep chaining them. Let's see. What was this? May include modification. Oh, yeah. First modified, you could do that with those. We don't happen to. Sentences will require serial constructions. Yeah, that's essentially what I just said. All right. So the cat chased the mouse in the house. For example, the cat chased the mouse in the house. This is how we do it. First, there's going to be an incomplete thought plus a perfective. This is the first part. First over middle via last, and 3, 4, 5 cat mouse chasing, right? Then we have complete thought plus perfective, first located at last, chasing house. All right. So this is kind of how it works. Here are the jelly beans. Okay. I don't even know how to explain this. I'm doing my best, but all right. So here's what we have. All right, there's a picture of 2 hands. The first hand has 5 jelly beans. They're all 5 different ones. And so in your first hand, what you're going to get is the cat chased the mouse. And you're also going to get the information that the thought is not complete, that more information is coming. So you know the cat chased the mouse, but there's something else about it and you don't know what. So you eat all those. Then with your second handful, you get chased in the house and a complete thought. And so then you put those together and it's like, oh, the cat chased the mouse. Also chasing happened in the house and now it's done. And so that is how you say something in this language. Now, it is time to test. All right. So, don't start yet, but everybody is going to receive 1 of 4 envelopes. The envelopes are going to be pink, gold, blue, or black. They are also going to have a sticker on them because we couldn't get 8 envelope types and we needed that. All right, so do not look at the jelly beans inside if you want this to be a true test, because you're going to be able to see their colors, right? So don't look at them. But no, you don't necessarily have to eat them all at once. It just doesn't matter what order you do it in. Okay, before we do it, obviously some disclaimers. Do not eat these if you are or think you may be allergic to any of the ingredients, obviously. Do not eat these if you dislike any of the flavors listed. There's going to be a flavor list up here. Okay. And though the jelly beans we absolutely purchased them, Jesse and I put them into the envelopes ourselves. We were wearing gloves. If you don't want to eat anything we've handled, don't take an envelope. We will not be offended. Here's a photo of us assembling. And by the way, this is my little sister took the picture. And so, she's all grown up now, but she's the one that I did the jelly bean book for. Okay, so here we go. There's a QR code on the screen. Sherry, this is when you go to page number 2. This has a list of every jelly bean that you could possibly be receiving. Everybody is going to get an envelope with 5 jelly beans. All right. And this is kind of what they mean. We're going to pass them out right now. Remember the colors that you have, the color of the envelope and the color of the sticker, because we're going to tell you what it means after that. And yeah, go ahead and start passing out right now. Magpie or Miles?
Kind enough to take this half of the room. Yeah. Thank you.
And then remember Sherry.
I got it.
Okay, good, good. Okay. We're going to start passing out right now. All right. Are we ready? All right. I want to make sure that I put a black slide afterward just to make sure I didn't reveal too soon. But get ready. Go back. What?
Are we ready to eat them?
Yeah. Go for it. Sorry. Yeah. No, some people were already doing it. They didn't wait. They didn't wait for permission. Yeah, go for it.
Look at it, right?
Yeah, try not to look at it. Try not to look at them. Oh, and just as a reminder, both the color of the bag and the sticker is going to be for the answer key that's coming up after this. Okay, so remember what it is.
That one's a mystery. I don't know what that was.
So many people whose faces are just like ours. I'll give you a minute.
David, can you do salsa next year?
Can I do what?
Salsa?
Salsa.
David, next to peppers.
Oh my God. All right. Are we ready?
Hey, I think, what's the noun class ranking on the pronouns again?
The noun, so the numbers again, so we have like first operating on last via middle. So for example, if you had, red apple, root beer, and blue and mouse, then the first would be red apple, the middle would be root beer, the last would be blueberry. It's an absolute ranking. Oh, Jesse thinks she got hers. All right. So listen, we got to move on. Believe me, I know how tough it is. Here is the answer key. All right. By a show of hands, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you basically, did you get right on? Did you get closer? Were you nowhere near? How many people got it spot on? Wow. Holy smoke. As you can see, you're in the minority. That was like 5 or 6 people, but wow, right on. How many of you got close? All right. That's pretty good. And then how many of you were just completely lost and didn't get it at all? So that is about a bell curve. Well, I want to share with you that you are not alone, because after we finished, putting all these things in the envelopes, I mean, Jesse was like, well, I want to try it too. So we didn't do those sentences. We came up with new ones to test each other. This is a photo of Jessie trying her jelly beans, and you can see that look in her face. It's very similar to the look on my face when I was trying her sentence. And when I was looking out in the audience, I saw this look on a lot of your faces too. So I learned something. I mean, we probably should have tested it before I did the assignments, but also like I had to buy the jelly beans and it was kind of expensive and you had to buy them ahead of time because it wasn't like anyway. But so in conlanging, and just in language, we have the idea that vowel systems are generally balanced. So if you have 3 vowels in your language, if you have 3 vowels in your language, it's most likely they're these, e, a, and u, because they're nice and balanced. They're spread across the system. If you were to have a language and said, my language has 3 vowels and the vowels are E, I, and A, that's not really a very balanced vowel system. We find no natural languages that do anything like this. And any conlang that is doing this is obviously like trying to be unrealistic. Well, what I found is that I might have had a bit of an unbalanced flavor system. Because like there were a couple of these where it's like, it could be that, it could be that. As I mentioned, I think earlier, toasted marshmallow and French vanilla end up tasting a lot alike. I mean, I thought they were distinct, but not if you have to pick them out blind. So obviously this is something that needs to be worked on. It was nice for an experiment, but anyway, this is hopefully, maybe this will give some impetus to those out there who are interested in trying some sort of a flavor-based language. Anyway, so like the book I gave to my sister, this is the end. So thank you so much. All right. Incidentally, we got a lot more jelly beans. So if you just like jelly beans and want some, you can feel free to have them. All right.